So this is a generator I bought the other day for 50 quid off Facebook Marketplace. It's got a starting problem, it won't start. Even with the choke on, throttle open or closed, it won't start. There's a few reasons why this might be, but the previous owner bought it, used it a little bit, it's in very good condition, and they packed it away for COVID, and when they came to use it, it wouldn't start. Now they've put fresh fuel in it, they've put a new spark plug in it, but it still won't start, so we're going to have a look at it. Like I say, it looks in very good condition. It doesn't look like it's had a hard life or anything, and it is a Honda engine. It is a Honda G200 5.5 oil alert. So I don't know a hell of a lot about these, but at the end of the day, it's just a petrol engine. So we'll talk a little bit about why it might not start. We're going to check for spark, check the fuel, and then I'm pretty sure I know what it's going to be. But we'll go from there. First of all, we're going to remove the HT lead and have a look at this spark plug. It could be something so simple as the gap's not quite right, so we'll do that now. So, as you can see, if it focuses, he wasn't joking. That is a brand new spark plug. Now, in an ideal world, that gap should be set with a feeder blade. Now, I would say that's probably not far off. If it was, you know, open right up, I would say it's too big. Ooh. Or if it was touching, obviously it's too close. But I wouldn't say that's too bad. But I will set it. Now I've just had a look online, and it says that a Honda G200 spark plug gap on an NGK, which is correct, should be 0.6 to 0.7. So these are my feeler blades here. So this one here is the 0.6, that's the 0.7. So let's see if I can get decent focus. So the 0.6 slots in quite nicely, a little bit of drag, and the 0.7 won't fit. So we're probably, I could get another blade out, but I'd say we're probably about 0.65 of a mil, so the spark plug's perfect. The chances are it probably came pre-gapped, so I'm quite confident that that's okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is reconnect the spark plug. All right, and then what we need to do is we need to earth this against something, because at the moment it's got a positive down the wire, but we need to earth it. So that's what we're going to do now. And then we're going to crank the engine over just to see whether there is a spark. So now what I've done is I've plugged the spark plug in and I've earthed it. I'm only holding it with a pair of mole grips, you can't see that, but just to make sure it's earthed to the engine block to complete the circuit. And now what we're going to do is ensure that it can't start because there'll be no compression, but to pull the cord to see whether there's a spark at the spark plug. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. So I've removed the spark plug from the HT lead just to make sure it can't spark and shouldn't cause any damage to me, but if it was to come in contact with me, it could, you know, give me a bit of a shock. So this is a bit of an extra thing I'm just going to do, just to have a look around the engine. This is a bore scope. I don't know how well you can see that, but so what I'm going to do is put the camera down into the cylinder, eventually if I can get it in there. And what you can see there, those are the valves. It's quite difficult to see, I'm aware, but And what I can do now is as long as I ensure that the camera's not going to come in contact with the valves, you can see that valve opening there. Yeah. And then you can actually see just about the other one open as well. But one thing I have noted is it's very dry in there. The valves, there's a little bit of oil around them, but I'd expect that. But the actual combustion chamber itself is very dry. So I would be a little bit concerned that perhaps our problem is fueling, I would say, because if it didn't have a spark and it had fuel, you'd expect that what would happen is the combustion cylinder chamber would actually get full of fuel with just no way to ignite it. But this is the opposite, so I would suggest perhaps you've got a fuel starvation issue. So we'll have a little bit more of a look into that. So what we're going to do now is just remove the air filter housing, because I think we're getting plenty of air. It would appear that this is very clean. I would say this is not run very much at all. The air filter, you know, you'd expect that to be full of dust, but nothing. So this is inside. I mean, the air filter's doing its job, it's very clean in here. If I can zoom in very carefully, you'll be able to see in there the actual carburettor. So what I'm going to do now is one of two things. So we're pretty sure that we know it's getting spark. There's only three things you need. You need spark, air and fuel. So the air filter's not blocked, the carburettor seems like intact, and behind the other side doesn't appear to be any leaks. You know, it seems to be sealed well. So I'm pretty sure we've got a fuel starvation issue. So what I'm doing now is just removing the back plate of the air filter housing. Just put these nuts somewhere safe, don't want to lose them. And we're going to have a look a little bit more at the carb to see whether that's the cause. So now I've got the back plate off the air filter housing. This is what's behind it. So you've got your throttle control here. This is the carb. This here is the choke, which didn't seem to matter which way I was pulling it, it still wouldn't start. And on the bottom here is the bowl. I suspect this is probably the issue. You can't see it from here, but I would expect there's going to be some old fuel in there. So what I've got is a little container that will cap off a spray can, and we're just going to decant the fuel into that and inspect it, and go from there. It might be that that bowl is full of crud, so I may have to take it off completely, but we'll drain it and see how we get on. So I've got the bowl draining now. I just cracked off that little 10mm bolt on the side there. As you can see, it's got a little orange gasket on it. You need to make sure you keep that. Be very careful not to lose it, because that's what seals the fuel into the bowl. So the bung is now out. I forgot to mention, you will need to make sure that the fuel's turned off on the side there, otherwise it'll just continuously leak, which I forgot to do. This is the fuel that came out. I mean, just put it down. It doesn't look, you know, obviously there's a few little bits in there, but it doesn't smell particularly stale. Looks all right. It doesn't look like there's any water in there, you know, if the cap's been left off or anything. So have a little bit more of a look. So I've taken the bowl off. You can just about see there's a little bit of crap in there, but it's all right. So this on the bottom here is the float. So at the moment I've opened the tap on the side there, and what we're going to do is let this float drop and see if the bowl is getting fuel. So what happens is this float goes up and down to ensure that basically it doesn't overfuel or underfuel. So at the moment when you're pushing it up, the float thinks that the bowl's full. When you let it go, fuel's allowed in. So there's plenty of fuel getting to it. As you can see, it doesn't stop until you turn the fuel off on the side, and then it stops. So we know the fuel line from, assuming that's a little filter on the bottom there, from the tank through that valve down to the side of the carb and then into the float, that's all alright and it's all unobstructed. So next thing we're going to have to look at is the carburettor itself. So this here is the carb. You've got the fuel hose here that feeds from the valve. This is the front, this is the bowl we've already taken off, and this is the back. All the gaskets look good, so there's no air leaks, although I was pretty sure of that already. And the butterflies look very good in there. The only thing I did notice is if I blow on this hose here, you should be able to blow a little bit of fuel into the carb, but nothing's happening. So I'd probably say the jet's blocked, but we'll have a look. So this is the carburettor. I've taken the bowl off. Now what we're going to do is have a quick look around it. See, there is a bit of grit around here, so there's a possibility that some of that's worked its way up. So what we're going to do is remove the float pin, take the pin off, and that will allow you to take the actual float off. Now be very careful, because there is this pin here, and what that does is control the fuel that goes into the carburettor. That pin will just slide out very easily. I've taken the jet out, which you won't be able to see, this little one here. And now you should be able to see through it, but you couldn't do that before. There you go, you can see straight through it. You could see a little bit of light, but not a lot at all. So what I did was got like a twist tie and push that through it with some carb cleaner, brake cleaner. Gonna have a bit more of a clean up, but what you need to do is if you open up both of the butterflies and then spray down each of the little nozzles with carb cleaner. Make sure you've got carb cleaner spraying out of everywhere, and that should release anything that is a problem. You can take the jet out, which is very hard to show you on camera, but in the middle there, you see that little bit that stood up, just there. You can pull that out, but I don't think I need to. It seems clear. I can push the wire straight through it. So if I get this little piece of wire here, and I zoom out, and I push it straight into the bottom of here, I can actually, once I eventually get it in the right place, have it come out the top, which of course I can't do with one hand, so I'll give up on that. But yeah, so push a little bit of wire up there, make sure that's clear. This is where the pin goes for the float, which is over here. This little pin, that's where that seats in there. So give that a good clean out, make sure it's seating properly, and give the inside of the housing a bit of a clean as well. I'd recommend cleaning the entirety of the outside before you start cleaning the inside, otherwise you're just going to end up chasing yourself with, you know, stuff going everywhere. But you can see, you see this, like, it looks like oil, but it's not. The oil, the fuel's gone a bit waxy, just with this new fuel we're using nowadays, that doesn't seem to last, and it kind of waxes up and goes a bit horrible. So I think that's what's happened. The fuel's kind of gone bad in there and blocked the hole up, so that's why we're not getting fuel. hopefully. So I'm just going to put it back together and see how we get on. So I've put it all back together now, and obviously it had a new spark plug in it. We knew it had spark. We tested that. I knew that it had good compression just purely by the strength you need to pull the cord. So I knew the compression was good, so we knew the engine was healthy. We put a camera down it. I mean, you don't have to do that, but I was pretty sure it was a fuel starvation issue. We were definitely getting air. The air filter wasn't blocked, so I was quite confident with that. So stripped the bowl out, found that there was not really anything in the bowl. It was all right. A little tiny bit of rust, but that's to be expected. And then I couldn't work out why we weren't getting fuel. So what I did was take the carburettor apart, and we found that the main jet was blocked. So I've cleaned that out, I've put it all back together, made sure the bowl's filled back up with fuel. So we definitely got fuel now. And then I sprayed a little bit of brake cleaner in it, just to help it. I didn't even use the choke. Throttle's all the way off now. The choke's in, so choke's off, sorry. And then literally you don't even need much to correct. So after all that, all it was a blocked main jet. So I'd recommend, if you have the same problem, taking the bowl, or taking the carburettor off. There's a few fiddly little clips and springs, but take the carburettor off and take the bowl off. Pull that main jet out with a nice thin screwdriver. This is just a Halfords one, but that seemed perfect. But just be careful, it's only like soft brass. Take the main jet out, rod that out inside, give it all a good spray, and then put the jet back in, the little nozzle. Be very careful when you do it up, but you only need to snug it, it's not going to fall out. You don't want to damage the brass and never be able to get it out again. And then put it all back together, give it a good clean. Just be very careful with the gaskets. If you do split a gasket, you will have to get new ones because you can't have air leaks. It won't run right. So all I've got to do now is find something to power up. The guy that sold it to me gave me this, and I thought, what the hell's that? And I realised it's not for a generator because it's the wrong way around. It's to power a caravan. So I don't know what good that's going to be. I've got a caravan, but I've already got one or two of them already, but there you go. So I tested the voltage, we got good voltage there, so I'm quite happy that that it's all alright. It does have if you have the same problem with non-starting, just make sure you've got enough oil in it. There is a dipstick down the bottom here, but it does have a cut-off, little dipstick there to check your level. It does have a low oil cut-off, so if it does run out of oil, it'll turn off before it blows up, or at least it should do. But that's one major thing as well, so always check you've got compression, you've got spark, you get an air in, the filter's not blocked, and then if there's nothing else then it's got to be fuel. And it normally is. These things don't like standing with this old fuel, with this new fuel we're getting now. So yeah, that's it. So I've managed to turn what was 50 quid in about an hour to go and pick it up. Probably worth at least 250, 300 quid now, maybe more, I don't know. They're 700 and some odd pound new, so it's got to be worth 200, at least 200 quid. So couple of hours works, maybe 150 quid, so it's not bad. Good luck.